Today, Monday's edition. And today, amongst other things, we'll be looking at the massacre on Sunday in Anambra, where what was supposed to be a drug war spilled into a church and lives were lost. Joining us on the program this morning in the Lagos studios is a pleasure to have two security experts, really. The first one is Colonel Hassan Stan-Lobo, the security expert. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Also, we have a regular on the show. He is the security expert as well, and the CEO of August Eye Securities, Mr. Ambassador Roy Okhidievbie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Roy, for joining us on the show again. So, gentlemen, let's talk about, this issue, this thing that happened on Sunday, where people came into a church building, supposedly, according to reports that I read, looking for a particular person and not seeing that person, just opened fire, on worshippers in the church and killed people. Let's talk about that and the implication on the moral decadence, in the society today.
It's rather unfortunate, I must say. Thank you, first of all, for having me.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. It's rather unfortunate that we have this sort of developments ongoing. And if not for the fact that it's been linked to some drug issues and so on, one would easily have probably wanted to think along the line of maybe terrorism and so on, given the fact that we have sleeper cells all over the place now.
Yeah.
And I think if only we had put in place what I would call appropriate urban security strategy, strategy for our cities, things like this probably would have been to an extent mitigated, because such urban security strategy, city impediments would always spell out. It's a compendium to start with, which spells out sectorial requirements, security requirements for each of the sectors within the society. Take, for instance, worship places, mosques, churches. It will spell out all what is required to be done there. Schools, it will spell out all what is required to be done there. Hospitals, and so on. Offices, homes. If we had such a thing in place, and then in each of our divisional police officers' offices, we have a CTLO desk, counter-terrorist liaison officer's desk. The gentleman manning that desk has the responsibility of going around within its catchment area to ensure that all those requirements spelled out are actually put in place. For instance, if he gets to, say, a motor park, he needs to see certain things. Where are the fences that should have gone around the motor parks? Where are the first responders in case there is an emergency, and so on. If we had such with the church, it would have been able to reduce things like this, because in the first place, for those 11 armed gentlemen, I wouldn't call them gentlemen, to have gained entrance or access into the church, means that the church in itself did not bother to take any care of its own security. And like we all know now, security today is such that citizens must take ownership of their security.
Okay. Well said. Okay, let me bring Ambassador Okhidievbie into this conversation now. Although the Anambra State Police Commander Garba Omar has ruled out any terror attack, he said it was actually a gang, reprisal and all of that. But the thing is that we talk about security in places like churches and in schools. What you find is just ununiformed police, not policemen, security, private ones are being stationed to these places. How far can we begin to secure this soft target as it is? Because I can't imagine going to a church and I'll be risking my own life.
Excellent. Let me first appreciate my Oga here first. I'm very grateful and honored to sit with Oga on set.
Okay.
Oga is an erudite spokesperson on security and worldwide renowned personality on security. Okay, having said that, you see, Oga has actually brought out a structure. You see, that kind of structure is being compromised by our lack of understanding between the difference of politics and democracy. You know, we play politics. Politics stops when winners are declared, and democracy starts.
Okay.
And democracy is a government for the people. For the people. You know? So, when you play politics, it's an activity for the candidates, not for the people. When you play democracy, it is for the people. Now, if you look at the emotional attachment of rulers to human beings, if you say the councillor is a politician, if you say the local government chairman is a politician, the governor is a politician, the senators and the legislators, we are saying they are politicians, and they are still not having a grasp of the difference between politics and democracy. Then I'm going back downward into the traditional rulership. Our traditional rulers are not elected. It's an inheritance. You are emotionally connected to the people. I've seen times when people die, traditional rulers come out and they shed tears. I've seen women go naked in a community to make a statement growing up. All of these have died out. Why? The traditional stool have been sold and replaced with a leather seat.
Okay.
That leather seat is getting enough attention from Abuja, which is the center of government. So the emotional attachment of a traditional ruler has been removed. If it was not removed, all of these paraphernalia, status, strategies, stratas, Oga has been mentioning, when it collapses, we fall back to our traditional system. When it collapses, if you are using Western medication for a treatment and ailment, and you feel that it's not getting attention, you still go back to traditional roots. You hear that the person has been taken to the village. Now, my concern on this issue is, if citizens of a state that have cultural attachment, they deal on drugs and they are running drug cartels and they have a gang war outside the country, are you telling me there is no local intelligence to communicate this to the palace? Are you telling me a palace does not have a platform where it has its own local vigilante, local militia to guide against wanton killing of its citizens? Let's leave the government now. There's a lot of confusion in which government activity is ripe, which one is not ripe. This is a local scenario. Let's use it to interpret the failings of our traditional system.
Okay.
Where are the traditional heads? Where are their structure? Okay, Oga is talking about the normal structure, international standard.
But let me
we'll
ask.
come back to that. I just understand that report is ready. Let's see what the Anambra State Governor and the Commissioner of Police in the state, what they said about the killings of yesterday. We'll be right back to come talk some more. Stay with us. Attack by some gunmen on St. Philip's Catholic Church, Ozobolo, in Ekwusego local government area of Anambra State has attracted strong condemnation from Nigerians in groups. The gunmen attacked St. Philip's Catholic Church at about 6 a.m. No fewer than 12 persons were said to have been killed, while over 18 people were reportedly injured. Two sons of the community who were based in South Africa had a business transaction that went sour. One of them was said to have built 2 churches for the community, including the one that was attacked on Sunday. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Garba Umar, said the command will bring the attackers to justice.
So I wish to assure members of the public, the command under my watch will leave no stone unturned in locating and prosecuting those behind this massacre of innocent worshippers. The command also assured in the Anambra and the public that the police is on top of the situation and will locate and prosecute the perpetrators soon, because we have intelligence information on them. This fight has the coloration of a war between two individuals of the same community. Reason, the person that one of the individuals was alleged to have visited his hometown, which means the other faction was looking for him, and they came to the church thinking he was at the church for an early morning mass.
He ruled out the possibility of a terror attack, adding that the command had invited some suspect. The Catholic Diocese of Nnewi, Anambra State, said the attack was regrettable.
Just a boy, a man wearing black polo, came inside the church and started shooting recklessly, and that kind of thing. There was confusion, and after looking at the problem, there's nothing one can do except to begin to escape.
The church, in a statement by the Director of Communications for the diocese, Reverend Haji Agawolo, said that a parish priest, Reverend Father Jude Onwaso, escaped unhurt. Meanwhile, the Anambra State Governor, Willie Obiano, who visited the church, described the act as a sacrilege and unacceptable. Obiano promised to offset the medical bills of injured victims, adding that the government would find ways to mitigate their pains.
Is unprecedented and is clearly unacceptable. What has transpired here that led to the killing of very innocent people, and in all places, a holy place, inside the church, very sacrilegious, is clearly unacceptable. But this, from the brief I've just received from the CP, this is a feud between the children of this community that live outside Nigeria. This feud has been traced to the children of this very community that live outside Nigeria. And there's no reason for that feud to be carried to the holy place like the church, and innocent people were killed. I'm not going to rest until everybody that is involved in this crime is brought to book. I can assure you that.
He also said 50 doctors had been mobilized at the hospital to assist in providing medical care. The governor also visited Our Lady of Assumption Catholic Cathedral, Nnewi, where he addressed a congregation of worshippers. All right, welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Galaxy Today, and we're focusing on security this morning. We're looking at the Anambra killings and, of course, the resurgence of Boko Haram in the Northeast. And we still have Colonel Stan-Lobo with us in the studio, and, of course, Ambassador Roy Okhidievbie.
All right, so we actually saw the report, a bit of what transpired there in St. Philip's Catholic Church in Amakwa, Ozubulu. Ozobolo in Ekusigo local government area in Anambra State. Well, now you were talking about, Colonel, a while back, you were talking about the church failing, to put in place some security measures on its own to have protected parishioners, in case of an occurrence like this. But then, usually we see places of worship, as a haven, a safe haven. So how do you as an individual now activate that safety or security mode, when you go into such a place that you trust should be safe in itself?
Before I answer you, let me liken it to this. You have a general overseer who consecrates what's it called, this oil, anointing oil and gives you for your protection. Meanwhile, the same general overseer has a retinue of policemen who accompany him everywhere for his own protection. Can you draw the analogy there?
I do.
Good.
I can.
So, coming back to answering your question, our churches require physical protection. Fine, we pray to God for protection. But that does not mean that on our own we should not do certain things on ground. I expect that churches should make attempts to see how much of integration they can bring to bear between technology and the human component in protecting the church. Okay? When this Boko Haram thing started, I know in most churches we used to have all these metal detectors, which, you know, they use to frisk us. And most of our ladies were not allowed to come in with their handbags. They kept them elsewhere because you never could see. At our gates, of course, we also have these underneath sweepers for cars, you know, which detects anything you have underneath, and of course to metal detectors and so on. And adjoining streets leading to churches or mosques had some form of checkpoints to ensure that vehicles that are heading towards the church direction are free of all these things. These are the things I'm talking about. If all this had been in place, they would have detected that 11 men were carrying AK-47. 11, not just one. AK-47, and they went into the church.
And they must have come in a convoy of cars because
I mean,
they couldn't have been in one car.
Somehow,
11 people
couldn't have gone on scene.
Exactly.
You see, I am very much aware that we live in an environment where we don't take security serious, even from the government level to our individual level. When I say government level, you can see what your legislators will vote to defense. That is enough to let you know they are not serious about security. They are already concerned about what can go into their pockets. At our own level as individuals, we must take ownership of our security. And by that, I mean that at the church level, at the mosque level, the reverend or the pastor or the imam and so on must sit down, have a security committee that will discuss on how to protect the church and worshippers.
All right, I get you, but Ambassador Roy, let me bring you in now. We must factor in the fact that this incident occurred in maybe a nondescript local government area, you know, that exactly that nobody would have ever imagined a crime of this magnitude happening. You know, excuse me, in such a case, I dare say it caught a lot of people unawares. You know, it was beyond what anybody in that local government would have ever imagined would have happened to anybody in that place. How do you rationalize that? You know, seeing that it's just one of those things that just happens out of the ordinary.
And plus, to add to that, while you're answering that question, it will also bring us to the question of personal security. Colonel talked about the place of the church and having a security committee.
Yeah.
How does one individually,
protect yourself? Yes.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me say that because you said let's put into cognizance the location of the church. It's in the village per se. Okay. Now, do you know that the world is a global village? I am not sympathetic to any environment that abuse security requirements. I am not. Why? There are WhatsApp broadcasts made in Canada. In the next 2 minutes, it has spread in Nigeria. Up to somebody on a boat fishing gets the same broadcast that you get in VI Lekki, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt. Same day, same hour or minutes. Now, this information are taken for face value. This program we are having right now, some people have access to view it. Those same persons are still going to church on this coming Sunday in a local area. Same persons will not meet within this week to start up a committee. Same persons will not put into consideration evacuation of persons in a shootout situation. Same persons know, because we send broadcast every day, security broadcast, that there is active shooter situation scenario. And there is conduct of persons that find themselves in an active shooter scenario. Be it a shopping mall, be it a school, be it a worship center, especially soft targets like that. Now, since we have this information, note also, let's look at hierarchy. You brought hierarchy. The church, let's not be particular. Let's not say it's a Catholic church. Every ministry, both religious bodies, major ones, the Islamic and the Christianity, they have spread of worship centers. They are controlled from a center and command. Very few you will see that have just one branch. If you go to Redeemed churches, you go to Christ Embassy churches, you go to Catholic churches, you go to Mountain of Fire churches, you go to some major mosques that have the same Ansaruddin followership. They have their spread being controlled by a major imam or a deaconry or a pastorate. Now, don't they have this information Oga is giving? Are they not supposed to allow it cascade down? What is the prototype to have a worship center opened in any place to be our standard? If GT Bank is opening a branch in that village, will they not put the necessary security for the vaults, for the movement of cash, for access control? They will. Why? Cameras will be there because the CBN has made it a standard. A standard. Financial institutions have a standard. Now, in worship centers,
let me butt in there. Let us not forget that as a people, matters bordering on security is our current reality. Before now, we used to be like a laid-back society. We used to look at religious or worship centers as sacred places where nobody would have ordinarily gone into, maybe with a firearm or intended to kill anybody. Now, how do we now inculcate this into our culture? Because it's like now we are learning a new culture of being safe.
I want to disagree
with that.
I want to disagree. We have been in this environment. There was a time, when I left the army, I also worked in a bank as a zonal security coordinator. There was a time where it was just the swivel door. You come to the bank, you swivel through. When people started to have attacks, like knives were used to rob banks, then we now saw the need to swipe with metal detectors. Later, when it became armed incursion, the man-trap door came on board. Now, these are reactive measures. And that is where we still are. It happens, we lost lives, then we now Google what is the solution. We start to import and install. No, I say no. Why? Look at, let me give you a scenario for that same church in that village right now. If I am a member of that church, I will make sure, as Oga said, that there are checkpoints before you get into the vicinity. Not checkpoints per getting policemen to do that. No. There are people in the church, young men, that could just be at strategic places with their phone call. It is these church security units that we now indicate, Justin, please stay at that junction. Justin sees vehicles coming in unusual vehicles. He will know he's a local. Then he looks inside and sees young men. Even if he can't view the gun, he makes a call immediately. And he gets to the command and control center of the worship center. That is for one. Two, let's use the bank that we saw viral video where a vehicle drove into the bank, stopped at the gate,
and
refusing the gateman to lock because they want to go out in a hurry. Because if you come in and allow the gateman to lock, you may need to be shooting a lock or something. Now, they stopped at the gate. Now, when they stopped at the gate, that means they started to alight from there. If you are alighting from there, they didn't go with a pistol where you conceal. You must alight with a weapon. Now, that comes back to the church security committee. Now, when they alight with weapons, there are people at the gate, the entrance to the building, that could have seen that could have shut it down. And that shutting down is a delay tactics. The delay for those people to shoot or murder that door down would have been a more...
escape.
The priest escaped.
Thank you.
Where did the priest escape through? This is my village.
Okay.
Many of those young men there might have been the artisans, the laborers that built that church. We know how villages run. If you are not going to farm today, you join to carry cement. They know the routes, they know the bushes to run into. Now, when you shut the gate, you delay the men whom you have seen coming down with weapons from the gate. I saw the building, I saw the compound. Now, when you shut that, you raise the alarm. The priest raised the alarm before he left. The number of people killed in that place was a poor response to an emergency situation. Why? I believe that they were scampering. Because they were scampering, it might also have led to fear from the gunmen to begin to shoot sporadically.
Because those that were fleeing the church were shot by those outside.
So if you had them know what to do in an active shooter situation, concealment from view, concealment from fire. There might be pillars there that one or two people could have stood behind and gun bullets will not go through it. There might be positions to take on the floor, that somebody shooting sporadically will not come down there. That is active shooter situation response.
That was what I meant by we're learning a new culture.
We have this on Google. I told my children, Google this topic. And they Google it and begin to tell me, before I break it down, it's on the line. And many of them use their phones now for fun. For the wrong reasons. They use their phones without generating information strategies. Now, look at a situation where we also have them to know how to attend to a victim. Do you know those that survived were busy taking pictures? Now, if they have training also to know how to do a first responder skill response, do you know that one or two might also have been saved?
Yes.
All right, Ambassador. Let's quickly.
And then it is important also. We are never proactive. It's not just responding. And I know what I'm talking about when I say we are never proactive. For instance, we are talking about the fanning out of Boko Haram now because of the very good job which the military has done in the northeast. Where are they fanning out to? Into communities, into various towns and cities, and I expect that the major cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kano, and so on. Now, how much of proactiveness are we bringing into bear in the protection of, say, our rail system? I hope we know terrorism has not visited our rail yet. I just believe I'm not giving them some information on air. How much have we put into protecting our 5-star hotels? Terrorists take a lot of joy when there is high-level casualty.
And then they strike the least expected places.
They strike. Areas they know, they've already been involved in. Now they'll sit down, re-strategize, and begin to penetrate areas you don't suspect them to. That is where proactiveness comes in. What are we doing about that?
All right.
Let's see if we can now go to Abuja. We are being joined by another guest that we have, Comrade Demolayemi Success, and he's joining us. He's the coordinator, Save Democracy Initiative. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. We are setting our eyes on security. This morning we are looking at the Anambra killings and, of course, the resurgence of Boko Haram. We've talked extensively about the Anambra killing. Let us talk now about the Boko Haram resurgence right now. The average Nigerian will think that the military, the Air Force and the Nigerian Army have, completely stamped out insurgency in Nigeria. But lately we saw the ambush that happened not too long ago in the northeast, and of course the incident of the Unimade lecturers. In your opinion, do you really think that we have a crisis on our hands?
Can you hear me? Yeah, basically, if I get the question correct, in my opinion, if I think the military has stamped out the Boko Haram insurgency, if that is the question, the answer is absolutely no. No doubt about it, some months ago, before now, there was a relative peace and inactiveness of Boko Haram insurgency and their activities. But recently, there's this engineered actions and activities of Boko Haram. And if you ask me, a lot of factors are actually responsible for this. One of the major factors responsible for this is the exchange of Boko Haram leaders with some Chibok girls. No doubt about it. Well, in some opinion, what has to be done to rescue the Chibok girls. But that has equally strengthened the Boko Haram camp. That has equally increased capacity. And if you ask me, maybe the public were not even told the details of the exchange, apart from just the Boko Haram leaders. Maybe there are some other exchange involved. This, in a way, has actually strengthened the Boko Haram, and the result is what we are seeing today. Also, there's another factor that is responsible for this, which I think the military did not do enough due diligence on, which is the factionalization of Boko Haram. You know, after some time, sometimes last year, the Boko Haram broke into two groups, one headed by Shekau and the other one by the other guy, I can't remember his name. I think it's Malik, the son of the late Yusuf. If you ask me, this, in a way, is another negative development, because Shekau and his camp, yes, known by Nigeria military, and they know his operational base to be Sambisa. They have been trailing him. They have idea of how to get him, and they are making a lot of progress. But the other faction is entirely new to Nigeria. But they don't even know where they operate from. They don't know how they operate, and they don't have idea up to now. So that is one of the issues. Yes, there are some Boko Haram surrendering. There's a pocket of them surrendering, refusing, saying that they now denounce Boko Haram and begging for amnesty, what have you. That is a product of starvation in the camp of Shekau. That is product of lack of money, lack of logistic support, having technically debased in the language of Nigerian military of the truth. But then the implication of that is that now makes the Shekau to be more desperate in looking for money, because the other faction is believed to be the one that have the link to international terrorist organization like ISIS, and they are enjoying their logistics and funding support from them. But as for Shekau, it's now desperate. So if you ask me, in fact, I want to believe that he's the one that even recently kidnapped Terry professors. And if you ask me, I can assure you that what he will be asking for in next thing of those professors will be money. Because he needs money to sustain his camp, he needs money to buy more ammunition and what have you. Then another point that is responsible for this is this. Nigerian military seems to be celebrating too early. No doubt about it, they deserve some commendation and some applause from here and there, but all of those commendations should be to engineer them to do more, because they have not defeated Boko Haram. That is the truth. In their language, they say they have technically debased them. Yes, I agree, but they have not defeated Boko Haram. So celebrating too early will make you complacent and vulnerable to the criminals, and that is exactly what we are seeing today. So these are some of the factors responsible for this.
Many thanks to Comrade Olaimi Success, who joined us from Abuja as a coordinator, Save Democracy Initiative. We appreciate your input on the show today.
Thank you, Comrade, for your contributions. Now let's come back. Yes, I want you to react, and also to react on what the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, said, that despite recent attacks by Boko Haram, there is no resurgence. Do you also think that the Nigerian army has successfully decimated the strength of the terrorists?
In the first place, government has no reason to divulge what I will refer to as national security information to us all. What ensued between the government in the course of discussions with Boko Haram remains within that. We should bear something in mind. There is an extent to which you divulge certain information and it backfires on the rest of the girls who are still there waiting.
Okay, they can take it out on them.
Good. Okay. So you just maintain certain things until you get everybody you need. And even after you've gotten all the girls, are we interested in the girls or in what ensued? Let's be frank. Secondly, he was talking about the issue of, what was that first point he came up with, you know, which I really wanted to react to. But whatever the case, like you said, you just asked.
He also talked about the army celebrating too soon. Too early. Yeah.
Fine. And I know specifically he's referring to that last information concerning the geologists who went on the exploration. We need to understand that what really happened there was that what we call contact reports in the military. Contact reports. It was the contact reports that was released. But contact report ought not to have been released to the entire nation. Okay. It is an internal thing. What the nation would have been waiting to actually receive is a situation report, which gives us a full brief of the entire thing. They came in contact of what happened, and the fog of war or battle that came in enabled those who came in contact to feed back or do a feedback to their immediate headquarters that, look, we have come in contact, look at the casualties, look at what has happened, we have freed this, we have freed that, without knowing that certain individuals were still left. If only they had delayed a bit, the situation report would have painted a better picture that could have come out to us. But I would not want to ascribe it to the fact that the military was being hasty, but rather to the fact that the wrong report came out. And I think we're all happy that in its usual style, proving its level of integrity, the military came out to say, look, we are sorry. We apologize to the Nigerian nation for what has happened, you know, and we are still putting in all our best to make sure this thing is done right.
So you are saying so far the Nigerian army has done well?
Sure. I would score the Nigerian Armed Forces.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, but but
let me tell you why I would score them excellently.
Why would you score them excellently?
Even the Western defense press and magazines, I consult for 2 defense research teams in Geneva. They have all acclaimed that Boko Haram remains one of the deadliest terrorist group in contemporary times. And that they are surprised the magic which the Nigerian Armed Forces is using to quell them down. And this is despite all the refusal by the West initially to assist us with what we require.
Okay, I'm happy you went the way of international. Also coming from international press, Ambassador Roy, is also the report that the Nigerian army doesn't actually have the strength, the capacity, you know, to fight this war to conclusion. Seeing that major towns they captured from Boko Haram are now being recaptured again by the same sect.
Now, you know, I just so love the way Oga started this, this thing, you know, because we quickly forget. Let's just take some step back now. You remember when this whole crisis came on board, especially with the bombing of the police headquarters in Abuja and all that. All agencies begin to release reports, ascribe success stories to themselves. You will hear that the DSS conquered. You will hear that NSCDC captured. You hear that some Boko Haram people were going with cash in their car. The police stopped it, and reports were released from all, everywhere. We were shooting from all volleys. Now, we discovered that information like that is supposed to go out through the NSA, the National Security Office, which all other bodies supposed to fall under if it is especially internal terrorist activities, insurgency, or any kind of armed military group internally. When it comes to another neighboring country attacking Nigeria, that becomes a pure military scenario. But even at that, from those neighboring countries, they have residents in your country before the war. So it almost still lies on internal agencies coming on board and being up to par with their responsibilities. Every other agency took a lot of time to come on board. And this made the army to begin to play dual and multiple roles. Multiple roles. Are you seeing a scenario where we have, even in Iraq, we have Blackwater, we have so many other private security agencies that were mandated to carry arms and do policing responsibilities. From retirees from the US Army, from retirees from Iraqi army, we are employed to take that responsibility. Why will the army be escorting geologists and people going after oil and mineral resources in a country? Why? When we have agencies that could be equipped to the level to escort them. Why? Why were they not escorted by internal agencies? That is for sure. That shows you that the funding that is coming to the army is coming with the expectation of its responsibility, forgetting that it has taken responsibilities from so many other agencies. Now, okay, you look at the military coming forward now to sit on it. You heard the story of the failed coup and all of that. You heard the story of disintegration of communities, the Biafra, the Egbesu, the Niger Delta. These are challenges that overwhelmed the rickety internal security organizations. Rickety is the word I use, because if you take rickety into cognizance, you will discover that it's a poorly fixed up item. It becomes rickety. They don't have the logistics, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the technology, which Oga was saying that you marry technology with manpower. They don't have the training, then the motivation. We have a lot of youths that are jobless. Why can't you pour in millions of people into the police right now? Why can't you pour in all these youths into the civil defense? Why can't you make them mobile police trained, counter-terrorists trained, bomb response trained, youths within the country? They could take charge of all of this before you now see the army dissipate a Boko Haram terrorist stronghold and withdraw back to the barracks, waiting to hear signal that there is another flag hoisted somewhere or another ground taken.
Okay, Ambassador
because the internal security agency.
All right. We are taking this conversation to Ibadan. We have joining us right now, Laolu Akonde. Very quickly, let us begin to analyze the resurgence of the Boko Haram sect in Borno. A fallout of this is the acting president, Yemi Oshibajo, ordering the security chiefs of Oloni Shaki and Buratai to go back to Maiduguri. In your opinion, do you really think they actually left too soon?
Come again, I didn't hear that clearly.
Okay, the question right now is that the acting president... All right, if you can hear me, the acting president has ordered the security chiefs to move back to Maiduguri, Borno State in the wake of this resurgence. My question right now is that did you really think they left that town very quickly, too early, that is?
Of course, indications of late shows that we celebrated the defeat of Boko Haram too early, and perhaps the military also took decisions that showed that they believed that the Boko Haram sect had been defeated. And now we have instances that shows that demonstrate that many of the actions and the celebration we had much earlier were premature. Yes, I do believe that they left too early. One of the reasons is that we seem to have forgotten that there is an ideological dimension to the conflict, and that the Boko Haram sect had mobilized, had been able to inculcate these ideologies in the population in those areas that were occupied over the past 8 or 9 years. And these are generations that come up even while we have successfully defeated the Boko Haram sect in some locations and the militants had been driven out of those locations. We have civilian populations who had inculcated the ideologies of the military army of the Boko Haram sect. And as you drive away these militants, you have new set of people who had been convinced or who have been inculcated with this ideology coming up to reinforce the conflict. So I believe that even when the military has been able to dislodge the Boko Haram sect, there is need for some time to stay back and then work on the civilian population. This is an integral part of the process, but perhaps we have not emphasized this sufficiently enough to ensure that with the dislodgement of the Boko Haram sect militants, you still have to work hard on the civilian population so that new set of young men who had imbibed those ideologies do not come up to replace the army of Boko Haram sect.
Aside from staying back to work on the civilian population, which you have just postulated right now, as a way forward, what else do you really think we need to be doing at this particular moment?
I believe that we need to place emphasis on the integration of the civilian population to the Nigerian population. Over time, these people who had imbibed the ideology of the Boko Haram sect left in those communities, and enough effort is not being made to integrate them or reorientate them about the Nigerian nation. If people still hold on to these ideas of Boko Haram sect, even while they were not in the camps of the Boko Haram, the moment they had the opportunity to express this, they come forth and then they become a new challenge to the military. There was a report a few days back of parents volunteering or donating their girls to be used for bombing activities. This is an indication that the Boko Haram ideology had actually been assimilated by a good number of people in the civilian population. And unless we're able to clear this, there is a pool of people who feed the military, the Boko Haram sect. So it's something that has to be emphasized. This is not necessarily the job of the military. It is the job of the government to get counselors and guardians in educational institutions who could come in and work on the civilian population to ensure that those wrong ideologies that have been imbibed over the years through the occupation of the communities by the Boko Haram sect do not find roots in our communities.
Konde, thank you so very much. Because of our time, we cannot do more than this, but thank you so much for your contributions. Now, gentlemen, very quickly, let's react to what the political scientists said. And happy, also proactively, what should we be doing? Quickly.
I'm happy he said certain aspects of the issues he was bringing up don't fall within the ambit of the military. And it's government's responsibilities. It is important to bear in mind that when territories are recaptured by the military, and the military will now have to move forward to attend to other places. They hand over such recovered territories to civil authorities. And who are these civil authorities? We're talking about the police and all the agencies he mentioned. It is now left for such agencies to take care of such.
Because they can't remain there while there's still hostilities.
The military can't remain there. They have to keep moving.
Exactly.
Fine. Now, rebuilding of all those places and so on, which is what we often call the Marshall Plan, you know, taking its name from the U.S. Marshall Plan. All those are responsibilities of the government while the military moves on. And one major problem I think we have is that we often confuse terrorism with insurgency. Insurgency can easily be taken care of with well-planned military lines of operations. But terrorism is not a war. Terrorism is a variant. It's a variant of asymmetric conflict embedded in communities. It therefore calls for patience. It is time-consuming. It is consuming in terms of human and material resources. The enemies are faceless. The battleground is unknown or undefined. and so on.
All right, Colonel, because of time, Ambassador Roy, quickly.
Okay,
in a
well,
minute.
so to me, I think we need to scrap all the training curriculum in all our non-combat trained establishments.
Okay.
The training curriculums are archaic. If you go to the police colleges, you go to the DSS schools, they should upgrade their training curriculum to meet the present international security challenges.
Okay.
That is for one. True, they should apply the use of technology now instead of just mere local knowledge and numbers. That is for the third angle you are going to look at is they should operate in their own strategy. If you see the policemen coming to arrest somebody right now, they come in numbers, they come like the military. If you see the DSS operations, they come like the military. Now, we should also go back and look at their number, which is also in deployment. They need to be doing massive recruitment right now.
Okay, because we need that capacity to be able to fight this war to conclusion. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Ambassador Roy Okhidievbie, security expert, has joined us on the show today. Also, we've had Colonel Hassan Stan-Lobo, who is also a retired military officer and a security expert. Thank you so much, sir.
And of course, many thanks to Comrade Olayemi Success, who joined us from